Here we're going to work on section 2.3 part 2, Algebra of Functions. Alright, we've got some things to fill out here on your notes page. Your first blank should be combine. We can combine functions using the operations of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division to form new functions. And new functions should be your second blank. And then please fill in the right side of the table that is provided on there for you. What's going on here is that they'll give us a function that they say is f, and they'll give us a function that they say is g, and we actually started doing this yesterday where we said, okay, well, f plus g of x means to add our functions together, and then there will be an x in our answer. They could also write it like this, where they have f of x plus g of x, which is saying the same thing. Either of these are saying, hey, add together your two functions. Difference means subtract, so we're saying subtract your two functions. The product is multiplication, so we would multiply them together. Quotient is division, so we set up a fraction with f on top and g on bottom. So in the notes here and then in your homework as well, what they have is they have two functions that we start off with, and then we're going to do a whole bunch of different operations with those two functions. So we're going to start off here with f minus g of x. Well, remember, that's not saying multiply by x, it's saying find out what f minus g is. So here's f, here's g, we want to subtract those. So x squared minus 5x, we're subtracting between the two functions, and so we need to put the second function in parentheses. Okay, and so what happens is this minus in front of our parentheses, we can make that a -1 and distribute, and what happens is instead of having 2x plus 3, we end up having negative 2x minus 3. That's what subtracting that second function does. It makes it subtract 2x and subtract 3. So now we can add like terms. We've got a negative 5x and a negative 2x. So that's going to give us x squared minus 7x minus 3. That is what f minus g of x is. So if we look at this next question, they said, well, what is f minus g of negative 2? That negative 2, we're going to plug in where x is in the problem that we did before this. We already know that this right here is f minus g. We want f minus g of negative 2, so put a negative 2 everywhere that x is. So negative 2 squared is 4. Negative 7 times negative 2 is 14 minus 3. 4 plus 14 gives us 18. 18 minus 3 is 15. They could also give it to us the way this last one reads, where it says f of 3 minus g of 3. And so if what I've made so far makes sense to you and you want to stop paying attention at this point, you can. I want to show you another way of figuring out whenever we're doing these operations. And what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what f of 3 is, we're going to find out what g of 3 is, and then we're going to subtract. So we need to find f of 3. That's not f of 3. f of 3. So that means plug 3 into our original function f. 3 squared minus 5 times 3. So that's 9 minus 15, which is negative 6. Then let's do the same thing, but with g. G of 3 is 2 times 3 plus 3. 6 plus 3 is 9. We want to subtract our functions, so we get Negative 6 was f, 9 was g. I need to subtract them. So what is negative 6 minus 9? That would be negative 15. Next, we want to look at 3 more. Here we have f times g of negative 4. Now we could multiply f and g together the way they are right now. Okay, but that requires foiling, and we haven't actually gone over that yet. So what I want to do is I want us to do f of negative 4, g of negative 4, and then multiply those together. So f of negative 4 is negative 4 squared minus 5 times negative 4 equals 16 plus 20, which is 36. G of negative 4 is 2 times negative 4 plus 3. That gives us negative 8 plus 3, which is negative 5. We know what f is, we know what g is, so we want to multiply those together. So 36 times negative 5, which gives us negative 180. Now this next one is the best because it's the easiest. F divided by g of x means take f, put it on top, take g, put it on bottom. That's our answer. You cannot simplify that, okay? You cannot simplify that problem, so don't even try. F divided by g of 2 is actually pretty awesome because what we can do is just plug in 2 into what we just got for f divided by g of x. So 2 squared minus 5 times 2 over 2 times 2 plus 3. If we work this out, that's 4 minus 8, not 8, that's going to be a 10. 4 minus 10 on top. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 3 on bottom. So that's negative 6 over 7. The last thing we're going to talk about is how to find the domain of these functions that we're creating in this process. So this first one, f plus g of x, we didn't find, so let's find it real quick. F plus g of x is these two things added together. So we add like terms in the middle. And yesterday we talked about the domain of functions given their equations. And so what we need to look at is this a fraction? No. If we don't have a fraction, our domain is all real numbers. Simple as that. If we don't have a fraction, it has to be all real numbers for what we've done so far with domain. F minus g of x, we got earlier. It was x squared minus 7x minus 3. Okay, is this a fraction? No. So our domain is all real numbers. F times g of x, we're going to have x squared minus 5x times 2x plus 3, which we'd have to FOIL out, but instead of FOILing it out, let's just think about that. If I have a number and I multiply it by another number and neither of these are fractions, is my result going to be a fraction? Well, the answer is no. Just like if we were just doing simple multiplication and we do something like 3 times 5, you get 15. None of those are fractions. If this isn't a fraction, if neither of these are fractions, I mean, our answer won't be a fraction. So again, on this one as well, our domain is all real numbers. and then basically all of this is coming together for f divided by g. Because now with f divided by g, we do finally have a fraction. Oh, sorry, I got distracted. We want to set the bottom equal to 0. I just kind of spaced out there, sorry. It's been a long day. Minus 3, 2x equals negative 3. Divide by 2. Okay, what I'm doing here is I'm finding the domain of this fraction that we have, and to find that domain I have to set the bottom equal to 0. So that's what I'm doing here. I get that x equals negative 3/2. But the way we write that domain is that x can be all real numbers, but it cannot equal negative 3/2. Okay, so there we go.